the members, the staff, the friends, ladies and gentlemen, put a smile on your face. Welcome to Rainbow Push. Please stand up. We're on the air.
Everybody put your hands together. Come on. We shall overcome. Somebody sing, we shall overcome. Yeah, we shall overcome someday. Well, deep in my heart, oh, I believe that we shall overcome someday. Well, we shall. Somebody sing it, we shall. Let it ring out and we shall overcome someday. I know it gets hard sometimes, but I still believe that, yeah, we shall overcome someday. Yeah. We shall. Somebody sing it. Let it ring out in the nation that we shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, oh, I believe that we shall overcome someday. Oh, we shall.
Welcome to the Rainbow Push Coalition. We're live at 930 East 50th Street, our national headquarters. I know you want to get involved. I know you want to get social with us. Text the word JLJ77 to 41444 to support the work of Reverend Jackson, to support the work of Rainbow Push Coalition. Or if you want to make a donation, go to Amazon Smile and you can purchase your Christmas gifts, and at the same time you'll be giving to Push for Excellence. If you want to be a member, call us right now, 773-256-2775. And join Reverend Jackson and Santita Jackson tomorrow morning for the Keep a Hope Alive radio program. Join us this day at 10 o'clock till 11 o'clock. We're live on WVON. We're live on iHeartRadio Media. We're live on the Impact Network. It's anniversary month. We're opening up.
We shall overcome. Sing, we shall overcome someday. I know it gets lonely sometimes, but oh, I still believe that we shall overcome someday.
This week has been a great week in the history of the struggle of our people. Today, on this date in history, this is the day that Rosa Parks decided not to surrender her seat on the bus in Montgomery, and it led to an entire movement for public accommodations, and we thank God for the action of Rosa Parks. On December 4th, this week, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. launched the Poor People's Campaign that is now being carried forward by Reverend Barber. To December the 4th of this week coming is the anniversary, the 49th anniversary of the assassination of Fred Hampton, and it led to a whole movement in the city of Chicago, county of Cook, for the election of another state's attorney. Today is a World AIDS Day, and we talk and invite people to begin to look at how do we give access to care and treatment for those who are victimized by this very challenging and debilitating illness. How do we push for more research for a cure for AIDS? Today, we also say Happy Hanukkah to our Jewish brothers and sisters. It's a very special day as they open up the holy season. And then many of you were planning to make your way to Washington, D.C. this coming week to our Telcom conference. It has been temporarily postponed. More information to come. On an exciting note, as we celebrate the opening of Anniversary Month at Rainbow Push, there's so much coming up. I'm telling you, next week is Reunion Saturday. That's the reunion choir will be here, but not just the choir. We want all former executive directors, all former national field directors. We want all former religious affairs directors to join us next Saturday. It's Reunion Saturday. If you were in the Consumer Club, if you were a member from 1966 to now, if you were a member in 1968, well, you need to come on and be here. If you're a part of the commercial division, if you're a part of the trade bureau, if you were a part of the political division, if Alice Tregay trained you, meet us here next Saturday. And then on Founders Day, we have the Reverend Otis Moss Jr. will be bringing the message. And then at the end of the month, the Millennial Saturday, Dr. Frederick Douglass Haynes will be here bringing the message. That's how we're going to close the anniversary month. Every week, starting next week, we will be providing food baskets for those who are caught on the short end of food supplies. Today, we are providing coats for our children and students who are attending school. As the weather is beginning to change, we want to make sure our children are warm. So you meet us here at 930 East 50th today. If you don't come today, you can meet us here on the 29th. We want to thank the providers of the coats, Wells Fargo Corporation, for providing several hundred coats for our children and families. And then today our hearts are heavy. We've had so much tragedy, so many transitions in the Bush family, in the American family. Certainly, we pray for the Bush family as they now prepare to funeralize the patriarch of their family. We're praying for our own Reverend James Bass, landmark in this city, Pastor Emeritus of the Mount Olive Missionary Baptist Church in Chicago. We're praying for Oprah Winfrey, whose mother made her transition. We're praying for Jocelyn Williams, the mother of we're praying for Chris Williams on the loss of his mother, Jocelyn Williams, who made her transition this week. Chris Williams is one of the young people, well, not young, but one of the people, you saw the movie that Will Smith played about a homeless man who learned finance and became a investment banker. Chris Williams, we thank you for all of his philanthropy, and we are praying for his family. And we are praying also for Emantic Bradford's family. That is the young man who was killed in Alabama, and that is where Reverend Jackson is today. As we speak, he is providing the eulogy for Emantic Bradford. And now I would ask you to turn your attention to our video.
Welcome to the hashtag SMF Weekly Update. Congratulations, Emmy Award-winning and Oscar-nominated director Ava DuVernay inks a $100 million multi-year, multi-genre TV deal with Warner Brothers.
There's not a talent deficit, there's an opportunity deficit. If we close the opportunity gap, big things will come out, and all of us will be proud of it and what America stands for on its best days.
Reverend Jesse Jackson, along with educators, business and community leaders, met at Microsoft Tuesday to work together to make sure Washington students are ready for the future. They gathered for the 7th annual Washington STEM Summit. No one shall ever forget this picture that brings us to tears.
Caught in the chaos was Maria Mesa, running away with her twin 5-year-old daughters. Her escape captured in this dramatic photograph. We tracked her down. When I see that photo, I just want to cry, she says, claiming that she wasn't crossing the border illegally, but instead trying to apply for asylum.
Tear gas for migrants at the U.S. border. Where is the humanity?
What's your message for the Trump administration in Estados Unidos?
Look at who's causing problems and who isn't, she says.
Lincoln Portrait Unveiling. Push Excel Oratorical Society winners Carly Lewis and Zion Jenkins were invited to participate in a Lincoln Bicentennial celebration, where a portrait of President Abraham Lincoln was unveiled at the Daly Civic Center, hosted by Chief Judge Timothy C. Evans and leaders of the Illinois Judges Association and Foundation. Reverend Jackson will deliver remarks today during the services of active duty officer E.J. Bradford Jr., the young man, a victim of mistaken identity, shot and killed in an Alabama mall while active shooter remains at large. Voting matters.
I have been unanimously elected the majority leader.
Congratulations to Democrat Andrea Stewart Cousins on being elected New York Senate Majority Leader. She'll be the first woman and first African American woman to lead a majority conference in the state legislature.
Years that haven't moved forward, a lot of issues that have been blocked, a lot of things that people expected of us, frankly, that were not delivered. Come January and for the ensuing months, all that will change.
Mississippi wins. Hinds County judicial runoffs shake up circuit court makeup. For the first time, all 4 judges on Hinds County Circuit Court will be African American, including 3 African American women.
You know, you can get past political barriers, that you can rise in your profession, and you don't have to leave Mississippi to do it.
We are proud of Democratic Mississippi Senate nominee Mike Espy, who fought the good fight and proudly proclaimed,
"We want this campaign to be your legacy. Because when this many people show up, when this many people stand up, when this many people speak up, it is not a loss, it's a movement."
Keep hope alive.
Welcome, and I hope you enjoyed those announcements. We try to give you information. Today we want to welcome Reverend Jackson's alma mater. This is where it all started, Chicago Theological Seminary. We have students and faculty here today, and you will be hearing from the president of CTS and one of the faculty members shortly. I want to welcome the Ford Heights family from Ford Heights. Give them a round of applause. They brought a whole Ford Heights community is here today. And we want to welcome members of the Greenwich Academy. They're visiting us from Greenwich, Connecticut. Those of you who are watching all over the world, you can come to PUSH and we will welcome you. We look forward to seeing you. We thank you for joining us via television, radio, even if you're joining us Facebook Live or Twitter. We want you to follow Reverend Jackson at Rev J. Jackson on Twitter, or follow the organization at RPC Coalition, or if you want to know what's happening in education, at Push Excel. Like us on Facebook, like Reverend Jackson Sr., like Reverend Rainbow Push Coalition. Whatever it takes, join us and be a part of us. Today, we want you to hear from one of our outstanding oratorical scholars. She is a senior at Whitney Young Magnet High School. I want you to greet warmly Miss Rebecca Reed.
Good morning, everyone. I will be reciting an excerpt from Mellody Hobson's University of Southern California commencement address entitled, "Just Add Bravery." Now, let me be clear on what I mean by bravery. To me, being brave means that even when you know an action can end badly, you still forge ahead. Now, there's supersized bravery, the kind that compels a relatively sane person to jump from 24 miles up. And then there's also bite-sized bravery, which requires smaller but equally important leaps. Bravery allows us to push past the boundaries that hold us back from having the lives that we want. And for some of you, these boundaries may be imposed by your families. In this regard, I was lucky. I was the youngest of 6 being raised by a single mother in Chicago. We didn't always have enough money for rent, and when things got really hard, we would get evicted, which was a lot. Okay, that's not why I was lucky. Here's why I was lucky. In spite of some harsh realities, my mother never gave up. And she made sure that none of us did either. What mattered most were the words that she spoke almost every day when she said, "Mellody, you can do or be anything." And it was because of those words that I loved to learn and would wake up at the crack of dawn just to study. I still do. And it was because of those words that I dreamed the biggest dreams. Bravery also allows us to push past boundaries imposed by cultural stereotypes. As a young girl taking public transportation to school, I doubt the other passengers were thinking, there goes the future president of an investment management firm with over $11 billion in assets. They might have thought this if they spent 5 minutes talking to me, but I'm gonna guess that expectations were not running very high. I hope we can get better at judging people not based on assumptions and appearances, but on actions and achievements. And you know the best way to do this? The same way that I encouraged you to believe that you can do or be anything, I want you to believe that this is true of anyone and to everyone. The best way to do this is to just add bravery. The way to confront life's inevitable struggles, just add bravery. And this doesn't always mean charging the hill, fist in the air. Sometimes it may mean not charging the hill. This year we commemorated the 50th anniversary of the March on Selma, where people of all faiths walked for 5 days to demand the passage of the Voting Rights Act. Confronted by hostile state troopers, Dr. King asked all the marchers to kneel in prayer before crossing the bridge. When they rose, he told everyone to turn back. They were shocked. You see, sometimes restraint takes bravery. And when you can't see a clear path to your future, I can offer you 3 simple equations that can help you get there. Equation number 1, hard work plus bravery equals success. Equation number 2, imagination plus bravery equals creativity. And finally, equation number 3, love plus bravery equals happiness. Above all, please remember that you are loved and that you are brave. Thank you. I would like to dedicate that recitation to Reverend Jesse L. Jackson Sr., who I know is going to be watching this today. And because of his hard work and dedication to supporting youth like me, I had the opportunity to sit down with former First Lady Michelle Obama, have a private audience with her. So thank you so much, Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr., and to the Rainbow Push Coalition.
Thank you. Our oratorical scholars are going all over the world. They are speaking everywhere before the judges. They're speaking before many of our elected officials, and they're speaking in congregations. If you want your child to learn how to communicate verbally and to expand their options, you should send them to Push and have them participate in the Push Excel oratorical program. Give Rebecca another round of applause. Now, many people don't know that the idea of Operation Push and the Rainbow Push Coalition really started as a seminary project at Chicago Theological Seminary. And many people are unaware of Reverend's deep-rooted theological belief system and his prophetic training, and all of that comes from seminary. And so we're so excited that we have Dr. Joan Terrell, who's known Reverend Jackson across the years. She's one of the professors, and she'll tell you more about how she connected to him. And we have the president, the third African-American president of Chicago Theological Seminary, Dr. Stephen Ray. And they're going to come and share some insight that many of us may or may not have about Reverend Jackson, as a student, Reverend Jackson as a theologian, a scholar, Reverend Jackson as a prophet, Reverend Jackson as somebody that has really extended the legacy of Dr. King and has this unbroken line of history. And so I want Dr. Terrell to come and share. She's a professor of ethics at Chicago Theological Seminary, and then following her will be the president of CTS, Dr. Ray. Give them a round of applause.
Good morning. So my first opportunity to meet with Dr. Jackson was at Chicago Theological Seminary when I was a new professor of, now I teach theology, ethics, and the arts. And I had the opportunity to examine him for the conferral of his Master of Divinity degree, which he had begun and stopped that program when he felt the call to move into public ministry with Dr. King. And I was able to examine him and certify that he had met all the requirements for the degree, and that makes me very proud to be associated with him. One of the things that I love about Dr. Jackson's legacy is that he, more than anyone, helped me to realize that I need to care about the whole world. I don't simply need to focus on the multiple problems that we have in our communities that are local and that are national here, but the whole world is in need. And so what he helped me to recognize is that there are many people who are straw dogs throughout the world. Emantic Bradford, yes, is a straw dog. A straw dog is an economy if you can't afford a live dog in sacrificial context. Straw dogs are useless once they've met their purpose to those who consider them straw dogs. But there are many straw dogs throughout the world. The Rohingya people are straw dogs. Black athletes are straw dogs. All of them sacrificed for some ideal that is certainly not in keeping with the idea that all people are created in God's image, all people are worthy. And so in honor of World AIDS Day and in honor of the anniversary of Rainbow Push, my course, AIDS and Violence at Chicago Theological Seminary, we are producing a play and presenting it on December 12th called Straw Dogs, the Sequel, in which we will draw some of the connections between communities around the world who are oppressed. Let us keep in mind that we have an obligation to think deeply and compassionately about the world in which we're living. Thank you so much.
We have a video on Chicago Theological Seminary, and following the video, we will have a speaking voice of Dr. Stephen Ray.
Welcome to Chicago Theological Seminary, the vibrant, world-renowned graduate school on the city's south side, where 250 students from over 40 faith traditions put theology to work every day. Forged on the country's western edge to prepare church leaders, CTS has pushed the boundaries of religious thought ever since. For over 160 years, CTS has formed future leaders in ministry, education, advocacy, and social work. An international beacon for progressive theology, CTS is home to the most provocative activists, preachers, and writers of our time. Founded on Chicago's west side, the school moved in 1907 to be closer to the University of Chicago. In 2012, CTS moved into its new LEED Gold certified building, living into its commitment to environmental concerns. Chicago Theological Seminary has historically been a leader in the fight for racial and social justice. Its faculty and students participated in the abolition movement and the Underground Railroad prior to the Civil War. CTS was active in efforts to advance civil rights. In 1957, CTS was the first seminary to award the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. an honorary Doctor of Divinity for his activism. In 1965, CTS President Howard Schomer, along with faculty and students, led by a young seminarian named Jesse Jackson, skipped classes and drove through the night to march alongside Dr. King in Selma, Alabama. CTS continues to carry the torch, hosting national conferences that promote racial equality, featuring the most provocative thinkers of today. a bold voice in the national conversation on race and social justice.
Good morning, Operation. I bring you greetings from Chicago Theological Seminary, very specifically greetings in this struggle to make of this world something that God will find pleasing and something that will enrich and find flourishing for us all. I want to take just a few moments to talk with you about the journey of CTS, but more importantly about how the Reverend Dr. Jesse Jackson shapes who and what we are as we shaped who and what he is. As our video noted, our seminary was founded in 1855 by a group of ministers who thought it was critical that there be preachers in the public square who made sure that slavery would not have the final word in American society. So the founding of our seminary was based on the idea that justice ought to be the resounding cry across this land and not slavery and oppression. We have lived out that calling by shaping religious leaders through several generations. We are a seminary who currently is engaged in the work of shaping multi-faith and interfaith leaders across levels of public life to try and work hard to bring religion into the public square, to make it a more humane place that all of us can flourish. Because at the end of the day, if religion does not make this world a better place for us all, then it is simply a pointless waste of time, energy, and effort. Chicago Theological Seminary in the 1960s had the good fortune of coming across the vision of one Jesse L. Jackson. And he became a student at our seminary and became a powerful and significant force in helping to enliven and encourage people as the seminary, its students, its faculty, and its administration became involved in the civil rights movement. Now, as a part of his own work, one of the things that he found at Chicago Theological Seminary was a seminary that for over 100 years had been shaping and had been cultivating a vision of the Christian faith as a transformative force in the life of this nation. So his vision of religion making a difference in our world found a way to give voice to a drawing from the great wellsprings of the Christian tradition. And by the same token, his passion helped then to shape who and what we are. Chicago Theological Seminary looks at Reverend Jesse L. Jackson as someone who embodies the best of who and what we are, the best of who and what we mean to be. Ours is a calling to make a difference in our world, to make a difference in the public square, to make a difference in the shaping of a future for our children. Because at the end of the day, and I'll say this again, religion that does not make the world a better place for God's children is a waste of everyone's time, is a waste of everyone's energy, and can actually be one of the most dangerous forces in the world. Because let us recall, the slaveholders were religious too. The lynchers were religious too. The Klansmen were religious too. And as we've seen in our own space and in our own time, some of the most dangerous and evil forces coursing through our society hold a Bible in one hand and a cross in the other. So we have taken it as our calling, and we have taken it as our vocation to bring religion into the public square in a way that heals, that binds up the brokenhearted, that heals the wounded, that makes of the broken whole. And we are so thankful, we are so blessed that in this journey, our mission has gone alongside of Reverend Jackson and Operation Push, and we have shaped a way of understanding how it is that we ought to be in the world. And one of the things that I invite each and every one of you is, as you join your work with Operation Push, to know that CTS is a part of that work. But more importantly, I invite you to know that we will support you in your work as you seek to make of this a better world. As I look at the audience now and I see so many young faces in front of me, one of the things I understand is that whatever the world is going to be, you are going to be the ones to make it. Whatever the world is going to be, it is going to be by your hand that that world is made. And so I give you my promise that Chicago Theological Seminary, as a partner with Operation Push, will be there by your side, will be there to encourage you, will be there to help you, and will be there to nourish you as you seek to make of this old world something new, a new world in which we all might flourish and we all might know the joy of what it means to walk in the fullness of life, made whole by the fellowship of one another and made glad by the goodness of God as it lifts our hearts and fills our spirits as we march on to glory. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's give it up for Dr. Stephen Ray, President of Chicago Theological Seminary. We appreciate the work that you're doing, Dr. Ray. Keep hope alive. We're excited to have some of the parents and students from Ford Heights Community Service Organization. Give it up for the students and parents from Ford Heights. Came all the way from the far south suburbs. We're happy to have you with us this morning as part of our Operation Warm. Rainbow Push takes great pride in doing all that we can to help humanity. People united to serve humanity is what PUSH stands for. So as we go into this inclement weather, we are giving away coats for the next couple of Saturdays. If your organization isn't registered, you need to call us right now. The number's on the screen. Register with us. We also want you to put PUSH under your tree. You can contribute to us by purchasing some of our gear. We have plenty of beautiful historical sweatshirts and shirts and literature in our bookstore. We need your support. Come and be a part of helping PUSH before you need a push. It's at this moment that I'd like to introduce a young man that is not new to this organization. He is walking in the footsteps of his father. He's doing so many wonderful things. He's been a voice for the voiceless. He's brought hope into dark places. Let's give a warm Rainbow Push welcome for Jonathan Luther Jackson.
Not fed right. Some useless, unholy, not living right. The beginning of the day, I look in the mirror and say, I am somebody. Oh, I am somebody. Oh, I am somebody. Hey, maybe down and pushed away, but at the end of this day, say I am somebody. Look at your neighbor and say, I am somebody. Oh, I am. Hey, through this holiday, look at yourself and say, I am somebody. One more time, say, I am somebody. Oh, yeah. Hey, you can turn and walk away, but at the end of this day, say, I am somebody.
Thank you so much. I'd like to give a very special thanks to all of you in television land and those of you that are present today that have kept my father and mother in your prayers. Thank God for my father as he travels to Birmingham, Alabama today to eulogize a young military veteran
Mr. Bradford, whose father is a military veteran who worked in the Department of Corrections, the father. Today, a mother has lost another son senselessly, a father who was being cared for by his son that was a military man, that was accused, not only assassinated in the mall on Thanksgiving Day, but whose character was assassinated after his body was killed by reckless officers in Birmingham. And this is played out across this nation over and over. So I ask that God give my father the strength, maintain his conviction, and that he gives words of comfort and healing to the family and to the nation. On this day, December 1st, 1955, we know our history, and I ask those in television land, let's not fix the blame, let's fix the problem. Our school system isn't teaching our children their history and their courageousness. Take a moment and tune in so we can have our children sitting in front of the television so we can take them into a civics lesson. Our children should go to school Monday through Friday. They should have an after-school program. They need to tune in to a civics program at Rainbow Push, and by all means, you need to get your children to a Sunday school program every Sunday. I want to thank a friend and brother, Dr. Stephen Ray of the Chicago Theological Seminary, and all of those faculty members and persons that have come out today from CTS. They have no idea how they've blessed me this morning. It was a group that I felt so comfortable with. These were my friends and family, and Dr. Ray has no idea that he was able to give me an enormous gift today by helping me have a better understanding and positioning who my father is to so many others. When people ask me about the Reverend Jesse Jackson, I have to say, are you talking about Dad? I've had the benefit of being up close. I can't measure him from afar. And for the little baby that's crying in here today, please let that baby stay. That baby is welcome. I love to hear the sound of the children. Some people have the strength to get out of bed and they won't. Some people have a car with gas in it and they won't do anything but go for their own selves. Some people have the money to take a taxi and a limo, but they have no interest in freedom. Now you see that baby stop crying because the baby knows it's the truth. On this day, December 1st, 1955, a young man that was bold and filled with the Spirit, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, I would say that he did something that changed the trajectory of American history. Far too often I hear about Reverend Martin Luther King. They don't even call him Reverend Martin Luther King, Dr. Ray. As I drive around the country and I see the street exits, I see Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard. I see Dr. M.L. King. I see M.L. King. Even at the statue in Washington, D.C., you do not see the Reverend Martin Luther King. Well, let us have a quick lesson on grammar. Your highest salutation should be most prominent. If you were once a bishop and now you become the Pope, henceforth and evermore you are called the Pope, because that is a higher salutation than the bishop. If you were a senator and now go on to become the President of the United States, you will be properly regarded as the former President of the United States of America. Having your doctoral dissertation, writing a paper, is only a function of what your higher calling is. To be a minister, to have a vocal, a calling from God, the Reverend comes before the doctor. It's a higher calling. And we are proud of the name of the Reverend Martin Luther King. Let our children remember that. On this day of December 1st, 1955. In my comments today, I want to talk about the third force that the Chicago Theological Seminary has been in the Chicago Theological Seminary. I had to change my remarks around this morning. I'm on the edge all night trying to get my last remarks together to be relevant and timely. And so I wake up and see the morning news to see if something has changed. I try to keep up with the wildfires in California, and then the mudslides, and then the flash, and then the earthquakes in Anchorage, Alaska, because they're taking too much oil out of the ground, and then the mass killings that are happening in our neighborhoods. I want to stay on the cutting edge so I can have a message that's comfortable to you, that's timely, so you can stay up, so you don't put me to sleep. But now I want to take 2 steps back on the third force. On the big picture, young people, our people came to these shores in 1619. Just 400 years ago, come 2019, we will be celebrating 400 years in the Americans as Americans. Some persons might have thought you were the descendants of slaves. I don't have any slave ancestry. I was a child of God. My father's a child of God. My grandmother, my great-great-great are children of God. You ain't gonna put that on me. And my lineage has always been to fight against oppression. Some people have succumbed. You're a slave when you give up and you have no fight. Reverend Brother Nelson Mandela said he was freed behind the bars because he was fighting for a purpose. Chains and shackles don't make you a slave. You can have the chains and the shackles off like Dr. Carter G. Woodson taught you, and you'll still be a slave because you won't want to go in the front door. You'll find the back door, and where there is no door, you'll cut a hole. We're not going to blame the school system. We're going to teach our own children how to read. Don't go to school cursing out a teacher, and you got 500 channels on in your house, and there's never a quiet moment for the child to read. 1619 to 2019, 400 years. The good part is I'm going to get you through this in 2 minutes. You ain't gonna be stuck 400 years ago. We're going forward. What did Reverend Martin Luther King do? What does this have to do with the Chicago Theological Seminary and where we're gonna land today in 2018? Well, in 1619, some people had to put the law with religion in order to create a slave consciousness. Some people had to make themselves feel superior and at the same time justify it theologically to make others feel inferior. When the cross gets wed with the law book, now you've got a wholly unmatrimonious relationship. It was 1955 on this day when the Reverend Martin Luther King did something big. A young man that was being lured and wanted to go into academia. He could have had a big church. He could have had what they call a mega church. I guess that means where there are a lot of people. He didn't want to see a mega church. Reverend Martin Luther King wanted to see the mass of Christ. He wanted to see 50,000 people in Birmingham moving in love, taking an old slaveocracy off of their back. If you don't want someone to ride your back, just stand up and they will fall off. So from 1619 to 1955, 336 years, God blessed a child whose father, Daddy King, was a minister who had to go back to school. This is a point for somebody. Stop telling your child to go to school when you need to go back to school. Daddy King from Stockbridge, Georgia, had to work in the farm and in the fields. Didn't have glasses and couldn't read. Wanted to have a courtship with Mrs. King down in at Dexter Avenue Baptist, at Dexter Avenue, no, that's that church, not Dexter Avenue, that's in Montgomery. What's his church in Atlanta? Ebenezer. He wanted to court Martin Luther King's father, but he couldn't read. She was the daughter of a prominent minister, so he went back to school to make himself worthy. Step up your game, young people. You want to have a date? Take somebody to the library. You want to have a date? Meet somebody at school. You want to have a date? Come on, y'all. It was 336 years from 1619 to 1955 that God blessed a child whose parents of those that have been born into slavery that were called less than human. He put this spirit in the mind of a child to give us what I would call a spiritual technology. He took us out of the stained glass walls and he made our religion move. He put our religion on wheels. This wasn't about a seat on the bus, the front of the bus, the back of the bus, around the bus, you pay on the bus, step off to get off to the back, then the bus driver closes the door and he leaves you. Somebody comes in, you have to stand up and get up and leave. No. This was about the dignity of a human being. After 336 years, he wanted us to see we needed to be the bus drivers. We needed to be able to sell the tires to the bus. We needed to be the mechanics for the bus. We needed to be the leasing agents for the bus. We needed to be able to sell the insurance to the bus. This was talking about a transit system. I know you've heard you are what you eat. Brothers and sisters, that's true. But more importantly, you are where you live. What do I mean you are where you live? And your life expectancy is now limited to zip codes. The acronym ZIP, Z-I-P, stands for the Zone Improvement Plan. Jim Crow has grown up and has gone into marketing and has become digitized. It's become Wi-Fi and also has WiMAX. You are limited to your opportunities in this country based on your zip codes. The wealthiest neighborhoods have access to great transportation. The poorest neighborhoods have been cut off from mass transit systems. Look right here in the city of Chicago. We have 3 mass transit systems, and one transfer doesn't get you across all 3 lines. Martin Luther King fought for something so much bigger than a bus seat. He was talking about a transit system that isolated and segregated and separated God's children. Brothers and sisters, from the time slavery had officially been abolished in 1865 until 1965, when we had secured the Voting Rights Act, Reverend Martin Luther King's speech was about our right to vote in 1863 to 1963. That message he gave on the hills, on the footsteps of the Washington Monument, was about Lincoln, you promised us. And we come to redeem a check that you have returned that says insufficient funds. Now, what does that have to do with 2018? When we see the elections being stolen in Florida with Brother Gilliam, when we see the elections being stolen in Georgia with Sister Abrams, when we see the outright racist and hostility in Mississippi, we understand what it means to have your vote nullified. This is why I'm so excited today about having the Chicago Theological Seminary with us and Dr. Stephen Ray and our own Reverend Dr. Jeanette Wilson. Somebody has to speak truth to power. Now, I know you say, Jonathan, you started in 1619, I'm getting tired. Well, Sir Isaac Newton in 1666 came up with these principles of the laws of gravitation. And he said there were 3 laws. I want to focus as I conclude on the one law that's pertinent to us right now. His first law of gravitation was a body will continue to go in a downward motion unless an external force acts upon it to correct it. In conclusion, this young man, the Reverend Martin Luther King, the Reverend Martin Luther King, the Reverend Martin Luther King was an external force used and created by God to challenge a segregation system that was on a downward trajectory. We're not a great country until all people are recognized as human beings. The first law of gravity, if it's relevant in 1666, and it's relevant today to understand it, not purely from a physics, but from a spiritual context. Who goes into the public square and teaches and preaches truth to power? That's not the businessman. The business is about a zero-sum game. How do I win and how do you lose? That's not the politics. What do I get versus what you get? Somebody's got to be bigger than that. That's the role of the preacher. That's the role of God's hand, the external force that corrects the wrong. Where are we today? In 2018, as our president and world leaders are at the G20 in Buenos Aires, as we talk about a world where technology is impacting every single industry that we can think about. There are 3.6 million Americans now, Reverend Stevens, that have a college degree that are living in poverty. 12% of those that went to college are living in poverty. Don't get me wrong, finish school. I know some people are going to be too smart for their britches. That's not what he said. He said you should not go to school. You need to have your skills. In the meantime, before you make up your mind on what you want to do, stay in school. Go with what's tried and true. The external factors that are happening. Technology is displacing so many. When we see that Amazon promising $15 an hour in wages and jobs, most people need to work, have 2 full-time minimum wage jobs in order to make one standard living. We're going to need an external force. Rainbow Push looks forward to the work we're going to be doing with the Chicago Theological Seminary. Going out into the world, our children need to understand the value of the ministers. Ministers have been degraded and have been talked about. But I don't see another way to fix the problem until we have a cultural character revolution. Look at what the world has applauded. If you want to know what God thinks about money, look at who he gives it to. Our president may have a 757. He may have a limousine. Do you think there's a place in heaven for this man right now? But the good Lord can use the jawbone of a jackass to get done what he wants to get done when he wants to get it done. Look at what the good Lord gives to those that have money. One day they're not going to be able to spend that money. One day you're not going to be able to give Putin a condo. One day you're not going to be able to steal no more. God still reigns supreme. There's an external factor that our children have to understand. It's not just about your net worth. What about some self-worth? What have you done for others? What have you done to make your life matter? And I thank God for continuing to give my father the strength, and I hope that he comes back soon to his rightful place, and 'tis the season to be jolly, joy to the world.
Oh, mothers, there's so many of you crying. Brothers, there's so many of us dying. You know we've got to find a way to bring some love in here today. Fathers, we don't need to escalate. War is not the answer, 'cause only love can conquer hate. Ooh, you know we've got to find a way to bring back love again here today. Picket lines, picket times, don't punish me with brutality. Talk to me, you can see what's going on. What's going on? I gotta know what's going on. What's going on, brothers? What's wrong, brothers? What's going on, brothers? Mothers, everybody's saying that we're wrong. Oh, but who are they to judge me? Simply 'cause I may just wanna wear my beard long. You know we got to find a way just to bring back love again here today. Picket lines, picket signs, don't punish me, 'cause if you interview me, I'm just...
Make sure you register at Rainbow Push headquarters in person to receive a Christmas food basket. You must have and show your voter registration card and driver's license or state ID to apply for a food basket. You can register Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and on Saturdays from 8:30 a.m. to 1 o'clock p.m. Spread the word. And we're convening the family. Exciting dates: December 8th, Reunion Saturday; December 15th, International Day, Oratorical Competition; December 22nd, Founders Day. Give the gift of hope with us on Christmas Day as Reverend Jackson takes his annual visit to inmates at Cook County Jail. December 29th, Millennial College Student Summit. Journey with us. We are returning home to South Africa in celebration of freedom and the end of apartheid. Register now to travel with Miss Jacqueline Jackson to South Africa, April 24th, 2019 through May 4th, 2019.
Hi, my name is Felicia Neal. I am the National Director of Membership Services for the Rainbow Push Coalition. I am so excited to know that we have members around the world. Please, why don't you join us?
Join the movement, join Push. Do you have your pen?
And thank you, Calvin. We're going to have you really do a solo. They don't know you can sing. Those of you who want to support Rainbow Push, either through membership or contribution, get your checkbooks out, your swipe cards. You can swipe right here. Where's the swipe? Patty's here to take you, if you, credit card, debit card right here. Patty, come so they can see you. Right here. We're going to give the coats away as soon as we have completed taking the offering. Those of you who, if it's your first time, we want you to become a member. The envelopes, everyone should have an envelope. If you don't have one, raise your hand. Our young people can be members. Student membership is $15. Student membership is $15. Those of you who want to give $100 or more, it's way too much movement. Those of you who want to give, can and will give $100 or more, please raise your hand or come down and bring your offering. Those of you who want to give $50 or more, those of you who want to become a member of PUSH, raise your hand and bring your offering down. Hold it. Everybody stop moving. If you're not bringing an offering, you need to stay where you are. Please stop moving. Choir, everybody, just sit down a minute, including those who are trying to reset the stage, all of that. Just hold on, because you can't take money and everybody moving. I'm just Baptist that way. Okay. Those of you who want to give $50 or more, would you come and give now? Thank you. Those of you who want to join today, it's $35 regular membership, $15 for 65 years and older and students. Daisy, right here. She's raising up her offer. Those of you who want to swipe, you can come down now, your debit card, credit cards. Those of you who just have something to give, every gift is welcome. It's not equal gifts, it's equal sacrifice. As they sing, won't you stand and come to my left or right? And Reverend Cassius, sing something for us. Oh, Mahan, come on. This Christmas.
Hang all the mistletoes, I'm gonna get to know you better this Christmas. And as we trim the tree, how much fun it's gonna be together this Christmas. Firesides blazing bright, we're caroling through the night, and this Christmas will be a very special Christmas for me. Hey. Presents and cards.
Anyone else want to give that has not given yet? We're about ready to give the coats as soon as Jason Robinson and David Day will approach the stage. Michelle Chambers.
Firesides blazing bright, we're caroling through the night, and this Christmas will be a very special Christmas for me. Oh, this Christmas in beach and love. Oh.
We have technical difficulties, so we're going to sing a little while we gain access to these wonderful coats that we have for everyone. So we need another song, Joy to the World or something like that. Give yourselves a hand for being patient with us. We appreciate you so much. Let me pray for the offering. Our Father and God, we thank you for those who had it to give and gave willingly, cheerfully, and obediently. We ask that you will bless our gifts, allow them to be used for the furtherance of our programs and ministry at Operation PUSH, Rainbow PUSH Coalition. Thank you for every giver. Thank you for every family represented by these gifts. Let every heart say, amen. As we prepare for this season of giving, we are preparing to give the coats this week, and then the next time we will have coats available will be December 29th. December 29th, and we should get some of the flyers. Miss Chambers, Could you go get the flyers on December 29th so everybody can get one? Bring them in. What are y'all doing? What y'all doing? What are they doing? Can you just, who will volunteer? Go get the flyers and hand them out to the people. Thank you. I've already prayed over the offering. Y'all can.
It's Christmas time in the city. Silver bells, silver bells. It's Christmas time in the city. Ring-a-ling, hear them ring. Soon it will be Christmas Day. City sidewalk, busy sidewalk, dressed in holiday style. In the air there's a feeling of Christmas. Children laughing, people passing, need a smile after smile. And on every street corner you will hear that silver bells, silver bells, silver bells. It's Christmas time in the city. Ring-a-ling, hear them ring. Soon it will be Christmas Day. Streets and streetlights, even stoplights, blinking bright red and green as the shoppers rush home with their treasures. Hear the snow crunch, see the kids bunch. It's Santa's big scene, and above all this bustle, you hear the silver bells, silver bells. It's Christmas time in the city. Ring-a-ling, hear them ring. Soon it will be Christmas Day. Oh, sing silver bells, silver bells. It's Christmas time in the city. Ring-a-ling, hear the ring. Soon it will be Christmas Day.
Thank you all for coming out today. We're going to be starting pretty soon. We're just getting set up right now.